Hello everyone and welcome back to part 2. This is me designing some miniatures on Hero Forge. Hero Forge is an online thing where you can create some pretty awesome looking miniatures, and obviously you pay for these miniatures. They will send them to you in plastic, in brass if you really want, in 2D form. You can even get them sent to you painted, and that is what I am doing. So I am creating, in this case, I'm creating a Rabbit Folk mini from the Witch Beyond the Wildlight, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight book. Obviously there are, like, you know, fairies, rabbit folk and so much more brought to life, and that is why I really wanted a miniature that represented that. So as soon as I saw that you could design a Rabbit Folk mini on Hero Forge, I was like, yes, that's one of the ones I'm going to be doing. So obviously I did 2 before. If you haven't seen part 1, go and check that out. That was me designing the first 2 miniatures. These are the second 2 miniatures, and of course there will be a video when they arrive, and I'm looking very much forward to that. So I was going through and I wanted him to be quite a dynamic, sort of athletic style character. You know, rabbit folk, they have that jump ability and stuff like that just sort of innately because of their sort of the race perk. That is the thing they do. So I kind of wanted to build on that and make someone that could be sort of quite athletic. I was debating whether I went down sort of the approach of making some sort of mage, but ended up going for someone with something a little more, I would say, quite lightweight. And I was just going through a number of the different options. I went right back to I'm not going to do an outfit, I'm going to build this completely from the different component parts, and I think it turned out really well. And going through that, you actually have so much choice because all of the outfits are made of parts, so you can, yes, go and pretty much recreate one of those outfits, or you can start chopping and changing. And I think I mentioned it last time in the previous video that maybe when you add them together they don't necessarily look like they sort of straight away go together, but maybe if you add that belt, or if you just paint them, or in this case for myself, choose the colour of the plastic printing to match, all of a sudden things that don't work necessarily together start to look like a complete outfit. So I'd got this sort of this look, and then I had to add the cape. I sort of debated which one, and I went for a slightly more streamlined, and there's sort of quite a few different options of capes and backpacks and different things like that, all the way down to a little bow on the back. But I was like, no, this guy wants a cape. It's quite dynamic and moving, and it kind of fits an athletic but showing off sort of character, and that's where the ball for me started rolling for this character. This guy wasn't just going to be athletic, he was going to be quite flamboyant as well. Often my characters are a little over the top, and in this case I really went for that. So unlike some of the other weapons that I'd use on the other characters, I wanted this guy to have some sort of pole army sort of thing. And I wanted him to sort of only have it in one hand. Yes, you can, a lot of the cases here, you can make them hold it across the 2, or have 2 separate ones. I thought the 2 separate ones that for the items that I was choosing looked a little over the top, but I went for just the one, and then a nice little drinks pouch in the other hand. Now I went through a few different things in that hand, such as drinking horns, different bits and pieces. You can even have them holding a fish, or a fishing rod, or different things like that. But I found actually this sort of wine, not wine purse, but wine pouch, I thought that fit the character quite nicely. Going through the different poses, now this is where I thought actually we could make him add that bit of extra flamboyance. There's some where, like just standing completely open and exposed. I thought that was maybe too much. I kind of focused in on this one here. I really liked the sort of the way he's holding that wine out in front of him, and just sort of, he feels like he's really confident, flamboyant in nature, but he's still got that awesome looking sort of double-ended pole arm. He's not going to be sneaking round, this guy. He's going to be leaping in and trying to do some damage at least. So moving on to the colourings. Now this I did spend quite a lot of time on, so I'm not going to show you all of it, but I did really go in, and I really appreciate that you can change so much of the colourings in terms of it's not just you have one skin colour. You've got the different parts, the face, the ears, the sort of arms, lower legs. You've got the sort of the chin, throat area that's a slightly different colour. And you can tweak and change all of those, and you can, as with all of the Hero Forge stuff, you go through and you pick these colourings. You then afterwards can go in and change individual areas. You can just change the eyes, you can just change the ears and stuff like that afterwards with any colour that you want. And I think that is a real highlight of doing Hero Forge. So going through, there's a variety of different colourings that you could do for the themings. So once you've done like the actual body, you go through this theming process, and that's where it allows you to quickly sort of pick rough colours, and then of course you can go in and change them. Now being flamboyant, red, gold, that seemed quite good to me, but it did seem maybe a tad too much, which is where I started introducing this sort of white colour, just to try and sort of dial it down, with giving him a little bit of extra class. And that third colour really, I think, helped everything pop on the miniature. Now if we go forward, we can see that I've tweaked a lot of the different colours, but now I'm actually going back through and with a sort of a specific brush, so you can pick different types. And this is where I really sort of wanted to add that detail. First of all, gold looks good, but I wanted it to be real gold. Like he's painted, got these things painted or stitched or whatever, actual gold. So I used the gold metal to go in and just tweak little bits here and there, quite a few little bits, just to give them the actual gold pop rather than sort of a cloth gold. To me, that just really elevated the miniature, and it allowed me to sort of have this really quite over the top sort of look. But I think it worked quite well. The white there, just to sort of bring things back in. I think it sort of all tied together, all one outfit. This guy doesn't look like he's just picked a sword up off the floor and is fighting with it, which some characters you want that. You want them to feel like they could do anything, he's lost this sword because he's embedded it in this ogre, but he's picked something off the floor and fighting with it. I wanted this rabbit folk to look and feel, I am complete. I am this sort of over flamboyant, but I can get the job done sort of hero. Right, moving on to the final miniature. I wanted to again try something a little bit different, and I didn't care too much about the race on this one, and that's because I'd seen some of the masks. I wanted to put this mask in there, this sort of weird plague doctor sort of jester. I just loved the idea of that from the very beginning and just thought it could be a very fun idea to play around with. So we've got sort of that jester and mask combo. We've got then different things being put on and off, just trying to find the right balance. Didn't want it to look too silly, too comical, but we didn't want it to look, I didn't want it to look too serious. I wanted it to look like you've just seen this plague doctor coming and you're like, oh dear God. You're not sure if he's good, if he's bad. This could be a bad villain in a tower that you've fought up, or it could be that member of the party that you're really not sure about, but he gets the job done. And that's the sort of character I was going for here with this sort of this plague doctor, and I think it came out really well. So so many different options for the trousers, for the jackets and different things like that. But once you go through, you can start to find some that really do fit. Now I dabbled with maybe making his boots actually like jester boots, I tried to change up the masks, but this lot of long Plague Doctor one just stuck with me throughout the whole process. Once I'd seen it, that's how I was designing the character sort of thing, and it kind of felt right. And then once I'd found this staff, I wasn't turning back. It looked right. It just really seemed to fit the character. And then why not have him holding some kind of scroll in the other one, as if he's got his arcane incantations ready to sort of bring something back from the dead to fight for him, or maybe sort of plague an enemy. I just loved the idea of this character, and I really want to play as him, to be honest. Again, like I said, you could say he was any race, because, alright, maybe not sort of a dwarf or something like that because of the height, but you could easily make this an elf or a humanoid of any kind, basically. Yes, just nothing small sort of thing. So going through, I sort of equipped a number of different things, and I settled, in the end, I settled on having a sort of a skull protecting his sort of skull and torso of of Bones' skeleton on his back as protection. I just thought, this guy might be backstabbed because he's a bit dodgy, so he's going to want to protect his back while he's casting stuff. Get some rats, but I didn't want too many in there. I wanted it to be subtle, so they've got a number of different options. I nearly went for the badger because it just looks so cool. Having little familiars round the bottom, that's a really nice, neat touch, and I just wanted it to be subtle. Just subtle. And then, of course, I added a little bit of flooring in there, because why not? Why not? Because the texture makes the Mini just look even cooler than it is. So I spent a while sort of tweaking the sort of posing of that arm, just to get it in sort of quite a sort of dominating pose, but also the fact I didn't want it to I made sure I wasn't clipping any of the different pieces. And I do find with Hero Forge you do have to do that a little bit. Just tweak here and there depending on what you've chosen. Some things work perfectly, other things I think they would look absolutely fine when it came to you. But for me, I just wanted to just take that little bit of time just to make sure things weren't clipping and that. And you can see from this, I'm changing the skin colour here. You can't really see any skin colour at all because it is all that one outfit. And I could have gone with something really flamboyant and sort of peculiar. In the end, I settled on sort of going for more of the dark blacks, the greys, with an accent of purple. You can even, the amount of customization on even the colouring just is mind-boggling. The fact you can customize even the colours of the rat's eyes. That's the level of detail that it goes down to, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. That's going to be so small on the Mini. It'll be interesting to see how that actually turns out when it gets for the actual Mini arriving. So absolutely customized everything. I've changed that sort of the different colors, and then I thought, why not change and have a look at the decal system. So something I've not done on the other Minis is add decals, so you could add maybe blood splatter, different things like that, almost as like a sort of some kind of tattoo or body sort of art that some characters might have. Well, I wanted to add this to that scroll, and something unique with the scroll is that it really does have different sort of pages, so you can have something on the front and the back super simply. Now normally if you're just adding it to a shield, it's just like on the front or something like that, but with the scroll it's set up to actually have it on both sides. So I had it sort of small writing on one side, and I thought that looked quite nice. It's just me editing it there, having a nice dark colour. And then on the front, I played around with a few different symbols. But in the end, what I tried was, and I don't know how this will turn out, just sort of increasing its size and giving it a bit of a spin. So it looks like it's some kind of large symbol on the back. I think it stands out quite well as sort of flair on that scroll rather than it just being a plain scroll. I think that adds something to it. Certainly on the inside, the fact it's got like those arcane runes, That's, you know, what he's going to be using to summon something back from the dead. And that is really that character, just going through and just adding little touches, little details, trying to make sure that all of the areas are using maybe the same brass, using the same greens and stuff like that to really highlight it and give a sort of sense that this character is across the board designed to be that sort of character and not have like different types of metals everywhere, different colour splodges. And you know what? I think he turned out pretty damn good. But let me know, what is your favourite of the 4 miniatures that I've created? And if you've not seen them all, go back and see part 1 for the other 2, because they were a lot of fun to create as well. And of course, stay subscribed, because when these bad boys arrive, I'll put them on the spinning pedestal so we can see the minis in all of their glory. Till next time, have a great day gaming.